It's day 1 of 100 days of code. We're gonna hit up the random project generator to generate the very first project of the series. So let's see what we're gonna be building today. Oh, a trivia quiz game. I have an idea. Let's go design it in Figma first. So this trivia game app that I want to build, I think we're going to use React and we're going to use Tailwind. I think the best way to do this is let's use OpenAI to generate the trivia questions based on a topic. And those questions and answers will be generated from OpenAI. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Let's see if we can get something kind of visual up on the screen in Figma before we dive into the code and see what we're going to be doing. I'll speed this part up. I have a very basic design set up. It's nothing fancy. It just says Trivia Quizler, which is going to be the name of the app. Step 1 is choose a topic. So we could type in something like JavaScript arrays. And then step 2 is how many questions do we want to include in our trivia? Over here, this is an example of what it would be like when you finish filling out that form, and you basically have your question here with your options, and you'll choose an answer, and then you'll be brought to the next question. And I didn't really design the ending page yet, but we'll see how that goes. We might code that out as we go. So let's get into the code. Like I said, we're going to build this out with React, and I might even use Tailwind to keep things a little simple. So I'm starting up a repo, and I'm calling this 100 days-trivia-Quizler. So at the end of this, if you want to contribute, maybe set up a dark mode or add a cool feature or figure something out that I didn't do and add it in, as long as your code does not break my code base, I'll merge it in, and here's the repo so that you can do so. All right, so we have the app set up and it is working in the browser. So let's just get started with this. There's going to be a few things that I know we'll need. I think what we can do is keep it pretty simple. I might only use 1 or 2 components for this. I'm not going to make this too complicated. Let's just start trying to build out this UI statically, which is the, what are we going to call this? What are we going to call this? Trivia setup. That's what we'll call it. Trivia setup and then trivia quiz. Okay, so trivia setup to set up the trivia game and then the actual quiz itself. Cool. So let's set up those components now.
Bruh.
Okay, so I think we have the first component set up, the trivia setup component. It basically says Trivia Quizler at the top. It says step 1, and then it says give me a topic for the quiz, and we can type in a topic. It's just an input field. And for step 2, how many questions should I include? And we have our buttons here. Let me make sure we set these up correctly though. It should see 3, 5, and 10. 10. There we go. Cool. So once one of these buttons is clicked, or should we have a button that says start? Yeah, let's set up a button that says start. So once they have one of these chosen, and there is some text in here, we will basically ping ChatGPT, or at least that's what I want to do. We'll see if this works. We'll ping ChatGPT to give us a JSON response of a set of trivia questions that have a specified amount of questions, and we'll want this in a JSON object. And yeah, I think this is going to be good. Let's also set an active class on one of these buttons. We'll say active. Actually, let's go into the app component and set up some state for this. So we'll say import use state from React, and we can say const num of questions equals, actually, what am I doing? We'll do an array. We'll say num of questions, and we'll say set num of questions equals to use state, and by default we'll have this set to 3. And we can set a conditionally rendered class on one of these buttons, and because we're doing this so much, let's actually just create a component for the button. We'll call this num of questions, num of q button.jsx, and we'll set up the component. This is basically just going to be this button right here. It's going to return this button. We're going to bring in some props, and we'll say that props dot number, and inside of here we are going to render these buttons. We'll say num of questions button, and we'll say number is equal to 3, and we'll do this a couple of times. We'll say 5, and we'll say 10. And let's also import that component, or this won't work. Hitting refresh, this all should look the exact same. All we're doing is just rendering a component. That way we just have to update things for that component one time, not in 3 different places, or even more if we want to add more options later on. See, like I can just quickly add a 15 question option now if we wanted, but we don't want that. But if you want to, you can set up your own app the way that you want. Anyways, just because I like to be kind of organized, let's do number equals props, and then we can just say number here. All right, so I'm going to start working a little bit on the logic here to get this working. And I'm going to set this up with OpenAI and use my API key. This is very straightforward work. I'm going to speed through all this. This isn't meant to be a step-by-step guide, more of like this is just what I'm doing for my 100 days of code. Slow it down if you need to. But I'm going to speed through this part up. I don't want to make these videos super long for you guys to watch, so let's get into it. Okay, so let me update you on where we're at so far. So right now, if we type anything in here, let's say avocado on toast, I think I spelled that right, and we hit start trivia, we get avocado on toast and 3 logged to the console, and let me show you why that is. So in our app component, we're setting up state for topic. And currently it's set to JavaScript by default, but let's just remove that. So it's set to an empty string. So right now, if we hit refresh and we start trivia, you'll see an empty string logged here. But if we type something in here and then we hit the button, it shows up as the topic. So if we go to our trivia setup page on the input, you'll see that as we're typing, we are setting the topic to the value of the input field. So that whenever we click the start trivia button, our input value is now the topic, and by default it's set to 3 questions, and I'm gonna work on fixing that part now. Okay, so that was very, very simple. So as we click, we get the text content and we convert it to a number. And then when we click the start quiz, the set questions count updates the question count, which we are logging to the console. So if we hit 10 and then click start, it shows 10. If we click 3 and then we hit start quiz, it shows 3. So we kind of have everything set up now for giving the API all the information that it needs to generate what it needs to do. So let's set up that API call now. Okay, so I actually got this set up working just right with the API. So I basically ping ChatGPT and I say, hey, I want you to return a JSON object of an array of random trivia questions based on the topic. And I pass in the topic that the user specified and generate, and then the amount of questions that the user has chosen, amount of questions with 3 possible answers for each question. Also include a correct answer property with the correct answer as the value. So if we go over here and we type in JavaScript and we choose 5 and then hit start trivia, it's going to ping the API. So I'm going to want some sort of loading state for this, but you'll see that we get 5 questions back, all of which have an answers property, which is an array of 3 answers, and then a correct answers property with the value of the correct answer. So we can, check each item in the array for the correct answer based off the user's selection and choose if they got the question right or not. So yeah, I think this is working, but this is coming back as a string. So next up, I'm going to try to stringify it, or the opposite of it. And yeah, once we can get this data, I'm going to basically build our other component out, which is the trivia quiz component. So I'm going to get into that real quick. Also, hey, if you are liking the series so far and you like the way that I'm setting this up, please make sure to like and subscribe on the video. That was kind of cringy, huh? Let's just get back to it. Okay, so I ran into a little bug and I'm kind of happy I did, because I actually forgot to start recording the second part of this. So I'm going to go over really quick what I did since the last time I spoke. So basically, I set up some state. I said has answered and then set has answered. And the reason is theoretically, when we have one of our questions up here and the user decides on an answer, when you click one of these, I don't want it to just say, yay, you got it right, and go straight to the next answer. I want to have a little bit of a set timeout, a little bit of delay. So 3-5 seconds or so, something like that. But while we are waiting and there's some sort of animation or some sort of congratulations message or you got it wrong message, I don't want anyone to click on any of these answers here. What I'm doing is I'm setting up state to where when an answer is clicked, we change this to true. So set has answered will change has answered to true. And when has answered returns true, we want to add the class of disabled to the buttons. Except I'm having a little bit of an issue here. So check this out. I'll type in Python and I'll click Start Trivia Quiz. And I'm going to click on one of these and I'm going to Open them up, and you notice that disabled is on the second button, which is the button that I clicked. And I actually want this for all of them. And we're not rendering 3 separate buttons, we're rendering the buttons dynamically. So this one component, this one answer button component is rendered for however many for however many answers are in our current question. So I'm wondering why this disabled class is only on the button that we click. So if I click this very first one, you'll see disabled is now added to that one too. So I'm gonna try to figure this out, and I'll come back with a solution hopefully soon. I got this. No camera for me for a little bit. My camera decided to be weird and get super laggy, so I'm just gonna cut the camera feed for a few minutes. But okay, that was a super quick fix, easy win here. So what I did was, and it kind of makes sense to me, but it kind of doesn't. So maybe if you can understand why or how this happened, let me know down below in the comments, because I'd love to understand this a little bit better. But like I said, it kind of makes sense. So what I did was I was setting up the state for has answered and set has answered inside of the button component. Now the button component is just rendering one button. Just because we're rendering it 3, 5, or 10 times from another component, still just one component. So if I'm setting the state inside that component, I think it's kind of scoped to that one specific render, if that makes sense. So basically when I click on that button will get the class of disabled. So my thought process on it was kind of all over the place, but I basically just took the state out of the answer button and put it inside the parent, which is the trivia quiz. And then I just passed it as props and then did the exact same logic inside the button itself. And now when I click any one of these buttons, they all get the class of disabled, which is great. So now we can go ahead and set up the styles for that, which would be pretty simple. I'm just gonna go inside of index. And if there's already something like this built in with Tailwind, which I'm sure there is, also please let me know. I'm very new to Tailwind, but I'll set up a disabled class, and I'll just set, we could set the opacity down to like 0.5 and the pointer events sent to none. And if you're unsure what pointer events are, I use it quite a lot. It basically doesn't let you click anything. It does not give any events to the cursor or the pointer. So see, nothing, there's no hover states, you can't click it, can't do anything. So basically once the user has set up an answer, they've locked it in, they chose their answer, all the buttons are going to be disabled until the next question loads. And we're doing all of that by setting the state of has answered. So let's see if this is all working. Also, I did get the correct answer or the wrong answer based off the user's submission set up in the console. So let's take a look at that. We'll type in JavaScript as our topic, and it doesn't matter right now how many questions. So we'll just click Start Trivia Quiz. And if we open up the console, so what is the result of the expression 10 plus and the number 10 plus the string of 5 in JavaScript? I'll pick a random answer, I'll click error, and it says we're wrong because obviously that is not the right answer, but now all the buttons are disabled, which is exactly what I wanted. So now let's set up, I guess, the congratulations or the error message based off the user's input. And then after that, I think the only thing we really need to do is cycle to the next question, which should be pretty simple. So let's knock these features out really quick. Okay, update. So I've got the functionality working to where we can show a component based on if the answer has been chosen or not. So I'll show you that real quick. I'll type in JavaScript, we'll generate the quiz. And once we click on this very first option right here, we're gonna see test, which is our component we haven't set up yet. And then after some time, it goes straight to the second question, and then we can choose an answer and repeat, and you see correct and wrong shown in the console. So we have everything set up to finish this project. So I'm gonna get this last little bit finished, and we're gonna go over the code base. Okay, time for another update. I got basically the majority of the functionality working. So if we type in a trivia topic of Harry Potter and we start the quiz, if we answer one of the questions right, we get this nice good job message. And then after so much time, it goes to the next one. And if we answer it incorrectly, we get this incorrect message here. So now the only thing I have left is once you answer all the questions, it kind of breaks because it just continuously goes to the next, it increments the current index of the questions array by 1, but we're not really testing if we're at the end of the array or not. And if we are, we want to display this game over component that I created. It's very basic and it just reloads the page if you want to play again. So we need to basically find out if we're at the end of the game, and if we are, we want to render that component, and if not, we want to continuously go to the next question. Should be very, very simple, so I'll see you very soon. Okay, so we are actually finished with the project. There are a couple of features, some good UX features that I think are worth implementing if someone would like to grab this repo and make a PR. I would love to see some of these features in here. But if we go ahead and we type in something like Harry Potter, it is defaulted to 3 questions, but there's no way to tell. So maybe we could have some sort of active class on the current button that's clicked for better UX. Maybe someone can implement that feature. That would be awesome. But if we click 5, it does update the state to include 5 questions. So if we click Start Trivia Quiz, we will get a Harry Potter quiz. And as you can see, nothing is showing that it's loading. So another cool feature to implement that I think would be super useful to the end users to show that it is loading your quiz. So anyway, we're here at question 1. What is the name of the main protagonist in the Harry Potter series? Of course, it's Harry Potter, so we're gonna click that. We get a good job message here, and that's question 1 done. I'm gonna just go through the rest of these very quickly. Looks like I got this one wrong, but this was question 2. It's gonna cycle to question 3. Of course, I got that wrong. Question 4, I got that one right. And then the last question, since we chose 5 questions, and I got this wrong, and upon completing the quiz, it basically takes you to this overlay component that's I just called game over, and it says trivia is over, would you like to play again? If you hit play again, it restarts it from scratch. So I think this was a really, really cool project from the random project generator. So day 1 is complete. I'm gonna go ahead and push these changes to the repo. Check the description down below for a link to the GitHub repo associated for this project if you would like to submit a PR, as well as a video on how to submit a PR if you're brand new to it. And you know, if you're updating your 100 days of code journey by submitting PRs to my work, that's awesome. Make sure to post about it in the Discord. Let us know what you're working on. Let us know what features you're trying to implement. And if you need any help, just let us know. It's the 100 Days of Code channel inside the community Discord, which is also linked down below if you're not already a member.